Hello and welcome to another ACY Securities Hot Topics video. Today I'm being a little bit earlier than I normally would with the video because we've got some news that I think is probably worth keeping an eye on throughout the week. Now we've heard overnight that Astra Zeneca has delivered another vaccine. They're making the total number at about 4 at the moment for the amount that we have on offer. Of course, we're also seeing rising cases in the US with nearly a death every 2 minutes over there at the moment, which is obviously not a good sign, and it's obviously not a pretty big concern for the US economy. Not only that, we're running into Thanksgiving. And in Thanksgiving, people tend to get together. And after 2020, can you blame them for wanting to do so? Regardless of travel warnings, people are still going to travel. So I'm anticipating a spike in coronavirus cases above and beyond what we're seeing now after the Thanksgiving period. Now, whilst we have gotten this new vaccine coming out, news has been kind of somewhat muted when it comes around the coronavirus vaccine over the last week, with people liking the idea of pricing in the gains that we've gotten. But they're also still remembering we have Mount Kilimanjaro to get over when it comes to a speed hump in the US economy, particularly when there's still no fiscal stimulus. So the failures of Congress are really starting to play on investors' minds. Additionally, we're also looking at a period of time where we are starting to wind down for the year. So we have to take that into consideration as well. Now, regardless of all the factors that are really happening around the globe, we do need to be conscious of Fed decisions this week. On Wednesday, we are going to be hearing the minutes of the meeting policies from earlier in November. Of course, I've already made some of my own assessments and thoughts about what they might be planning to do. We also know the Fed have had a bit of a tiff at the moment going on when it comes to the Treasury side of things as well, with Steve Mnuchin and Powell having a public display with issues going back and forth, and eventually the Fed has caved in and given some of the money back. But regardless, that takes a little bit of the firepower out of the cannon for the Fed, and it doesn't allow them to really have as much scope, or at least enough baseline underneath them to give them a bit of back protection that they probably need. So what are we looking at here in this scenario? Well, my anticipation is that they are likely going to be doing some modifications to the asset purchase program. I'm not certain if they will do it on Wednesday, but I'm certainly going to be reading into the minutes to see if they have had that as a key topic for themselves, and whether or not we can get a bit of a hint at whether they add to this asset purchase program in the month of December. Of course, I've had to give you a little bit of perspective. I believe the upper end of this is likely to be about $120 billion per month. The current is $80 billion per month. So somewhere in the vicinity of that is the range that I'm sort of thinking about where they might go to try and help the economy. The better part of this is it's going to offset some of the actions by the Treasury when it comes to funding relief measures for the coronavirus, which means then that we're also going to be seeing some lower borrowing costs. But we have to keep in mind that we do have rising case numbers. We have some restrictions on bars, restaurants, schools in different states where coronavirus is running rampant, and that is obviously going to be bad for the economy. It means that we are going to be seeing people have issues with finding work, or businesses going out and under. And if we don't see some form of stimulus over the next quarter, then we are going to find a hurdle that's a little bit harder for us to get over than they originally anticipated. The next part to sort of really consider about this, and this is really looking at the rally at the moment, are vaccines really going to be the be-all, end-all for the economy? A lot of people are thinking that, once we get the 1st of January 2021, this is all going to be over. But we can't forget we're still in final clinical trials for most of the vaccines, and there are still issues with distribution. The spanner in the works today from Astra Zeneca is that we are able to actually see the transportation distribution be a little bit simpler. In the other vaccines that we have available, they all have to be in negative temperatures, with the -20 and -70 for Pfizer, and of course the other ones that are available from Moderna. But when we look at what's going on from AstraZeneca, they're able to be transported at fridge temperatures, and they are a little bit cheaper. So now we bring another question into the party, which makes things a little bit more confusing again. How are we going to choose which vaccine to go with? Do we pick the one that's cheaper and capable of being stored at a better temperature? Is there other viable options that we might consider? Are governments going to be thinking about their bank balance as opposed to what the best solution is going to be? So now we're going to have an issue of basically paralysis by choice, in which case now you add in the fear factor of what people are feeling about coronavirus, and it makes that decision all the more difficult. Now for me, over the next couple of weeks, I am going to be focusing very heavily on what the Fed does, how the distribution goes, how clinical trials go, and where we might expect to see equity markets go. Of course, I am keeping a very close eye on the reactions between news about vaccines, the media, and how markets respond to start looking for that idea of markets being priced in. Now that's all I have for you at the moment, but I'll be back later today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so you can get more great content from me and ACY Securities in the future. Have a great trading day ahead.